Well, hello everyone, and welcome to 321 Gang's webcast. This is session 3, Facilitating PI Execution with Jira Align. My name is Kara Rawlings, and I'd like to tell you a little bit about 321 Gang before we get started. 321 Gang has many years of experience successfully deploying enterprise-scale development tooling and processes in support of Jira software and cyber physical systems builders. So in 2014, we launched our SAFE training and transformation business and even contributed to the development of the framework. This combination of expertise makes our partnership with Atlassian a natural fit to help our clients accelerate the benefits of Agile at scale with a truly enterprise Agile planning tool like Jira Align. We focus specifically on software and systems engineering tools and processes. So please take note of the question box in your control panel and type any questions or comments in the box as we go, and we'll be addressing them at the end of the presentation. Today we are hosting the final webinar in our 3-part series that demonstrate how Jira Align facilitates pre-PI planning, and PI execution. So now I'd like to introduce our presenter, 321 Gang's Senior Solutions Consultant, Peter Lucky. Peter is, as I said, a Senior Solutions Consultant here at 321 Gang. He is a Scrum Master and a Certified SAFE Program Consultant, and he has Atlassian certifications in Jira and Jira Align. He received his master's degree in computer science from Purdue University. Peter began his professional career in IBM's Federal Systems Division as a programmer, where he concurrently worked as an adjunct associate professor at the State University of New York Binghamton, teaching software engineering and publishing a number of papers on the subject. Upon moving to Canada, he became the technical manager of IBM's Rational Software Development Environment for Rational Canada. Peter has been involved in selling and supporting engineering tools and the processes supported by these tools throughout his career. These processes include topics such as Agile, model-based systems engineering, and SAFE. So Peter, that includes the introduction, and now it's time for your presentation.
Okay, so let's go ahead and start the third session here. So what we're seeing here is the Scaled Agile Framework, SAFE, as most of you know, the Essential SAFE Big Picture. So Essential SAFE contains the minimal set of roles, events, and artifacts required to continuously deliver software and systems via an Agile release train, referred to as an ART, as a team of Agile teams. The ART is the heart of Essential SAFE. ARTs are virtual organizations formed to span functional boundaries, eliminate unnecessary handoffs and steps, and accelerate value delivery by implementing safe, lean, agile principles and practices. Now, program increments, referred to as PIs, and PI planning together are the heartbeat that powers the execution of the ART. Now, as we just said, cadence-based PI planning meetings are the heartbeat of the Agile enterprise. 2 days every 8 to 12 weeks, everyone attends in person if at all possible, and the purpose is to come out of the session with all the participants fully aligned on the objectives for the PI. They will also produce team plans for accomplishing these objectives and a program board that shows how it all fits together. So PI planning provides the blueprint for PI execution. Now, the process for completing a single program increment starts with preparing for the PI planning session. PI planning preparation is all about preparing the input as well as the teams and the infrastructure. These activities are divided into 2 parts, providing the information needed to go into the planning session and providing the infrastructure required to go forward. So in session 2, we showed how Jira Align can facilitate these PI planning preparation activities. PI planning itself is all about taking the outputs from PI planning preparation and transforming them into the PI planning outputs, team backlogs and Kanbans, program risks, PI objectives, and a program board. Now, in session 1, we showed how Jira Align facilitated many of the activities of the PI planning, producing these artifacts. So let's review how each of these PI planning outputs is seen in Jira Align. So in Jira Align, instead of having a flip chart sheet for each of the iterations, each team can set up a Kanban view of the story backlog. In SAFe, we call this the team backlog. So you would have a column for each of the iterations, each with a place to annotate the capacity and accumulate the load. There is also a view of the unassigned stories, which is the unassigned backlog or story backlog. Now, the risk roam report in Jira Align helps the program manager manage the risks for the PI and understand the level of overall risk for the PI. The risk roam report provides simple data around the categories resolved, owned, accepted, and mitigated. It displays a percentage and count by category of the total risks. There are also basic pie graphs that reflect risk counts for open and closed, risk of occurrence and impact of occurrence. In Jira Align, objectives can be created at the team, program, and portfolio levels, and they can stand alone or be parented to the level above to create a hierarchy. In addition to being associated with a PI, they can also be tied to features to allow a line of sight to see how work is being delivered against the objectives. So setting the team plan in the Jira Align program board is easy. This is similar to the program board on the wall used during old PI planning sessions with Post-its and red yarn. The main difference is the Jira Align program board gets updated in real time and the Post-its don't fall off the board. Each team has its own swim lane and owns stories for the PI. Features that teams will work on and dependency for those teams are displayed in each row based on the target completion iteration for that team for that feature. Features and dependencies are displayed as cards on the board. The color of each item represents its current status. Now, during PI execution, Jira Align is used to facilitate each of these activities that you see in the list here. Realizing that most of the team level planning and organizational work is done by the Agile teams on the Agile release train and is performed within another tool, for example, Jira, we see that Jira Align facilitates program planning, status, and progress reporting, and issue identification and resolution. Excuse me. So we will take a closer look at how Jira Align facilitates each of these activities. In Jira Align, the program room is the one central command center to manage PI planning and the execution workflow. It is a program level view that provides roll up of data from the team level for items such as load, progress, dependencies, and objectives. It also displays program level information related to the progress load for those programs, estimating their features in points. Features that have been committed to the to and for the PI and other program level items such as objectives and risks. In addition to viewing this at the program level, there are options to drill down to this information at the team level. This makes it the hub for the program, pulling in most information that a program manager or product manager would be interested in as the teams are progressing through the PI. It also makes it one of the top choices, along with the program board, to facilitate program level ceremonies and meetings. When arriving at the program room, the default view is for the program selected. However, it is possible to drill down to see details for each team without having to navigate away from the program room. This can be done by selecting the team icons in the upper right-hand corner of the page. Now, let's go inside the program room. There are cards on each side of the display. The arrangement of the cards is customizable. You can select which cards to display, the order in which they appear. And in the center of the page, there are two sections, one for the iterations, one for the features, that are always present. These cannot be hidden or moved. Each viewer of the program room can have their own room configuration. So let's take a closer look at some of the cards or widgets. Each of the iterations will display for the increment selected. I think I went one too far. Here, yes. First, we want to talk about checklists. So checklists in Jira Align can be created by anyone to assist with steps needed to accomplish a task or activity. Now, a checklist related to PI planning can be created by anyone, but is most likely to be created by the program manager and then is shared to the program room. So this serves as a common checklist that all members of the program can utilize and use collaboratively to accomplish the items needed for PI planning. As one user checks off an item, it checks it off for everyone in the program room. Now, each of the iterations will display for the program increment selected in the program room. The green progress bar is an indication of progress based on the story points accepted. There will also be a line in the current iteration to indicate how far the teams are into the current iteration. This allows a comparison of how many story points have been accepted compared to where the teams are in the iteration. Star icons represent milestones and objectives based on their target completion dates. Diamond icons depict the release's ship date. And also notice up in the right-hand corner here, the View Program Board button, making it easy to navigate from the program room directly to the program board. Now, all the portfolio epics, features, and stories assigned to the selected program and PI appear in the list view. So even orphaned and misaligned stories will appear as well, so you can deal with those. Just like there was the option to view the PI load in the backlog that we saw in earlier sessions, there is the same option here. To refresh, the velocity is based, to remind you, the velocity is based on the average story points for the previous two PIs and can be manually overridden if needed. Also, if you recall, the estimated load is based on the feature points. The actual load is based on the story points associated with those features. The gear icon is used on the PI load to toggle between estimated and actual. The team load card looks at how many story points have been loaded for the team compared to its overall velocity. The velocity for the team is based on the average story points completed for the last 5 iterations. So the overall velocity is the average velocity multiplied by the number of iterations in the PI. So if a team's average velocity is 50 points per iteration, and there are 6 iterations in a PI, then the overall velocity for that team for the PI is 300. Now, there are three other cards, the objectives, dependencies, and risks. And they contain data for all these items at both the program and the team level. So when drilling down to a team using the team icons, they will then filter to only display those items for the team that was selected. On each of the cards, there are options that will display when hovering your mouse over the upper right-hand corner of the card. These will take you to the grid view within Jira Align for that item. An associated report or map for dependencies or allow you to add a new item. The PI progress card is one of the most telling cards in the program room. It measures the number of days left in the PI, the percent of the objectives completed, and the percent of stories accepted based on the count or number of stories, not the story points. There are additional values around the percentage complete for the portfolio epics, features, and stories, as well as data for dependencies that are all based on counts and not the points. So hovering the mouse over any of the data on this card will present more details around the data. On the converse, the team progress card displays the progress of each team based on story points accepted versus story points planned. When hovering the mouse over this data, it will display how many of the total story points have been accepted, so more than just a percentage can be referenced. This is important since the sizing of the stories is done iteratively and not all the stories will be sized up front at the beginning of the PI. This is an important point to keep in mind when referencing the team load card as well. There is also a team room, which is like the program room, but it is based on the team's iteration. In the team room, we'll find a list of stories versus features in the program room. That team is working on the list of stories is the list of stories that the team is working on during the iteration. So during PI execution, the program board is used during various ceremonies like the Scrum of Scrums and the PO Sync. During these ceremonies and in general, during PI execution, the program board is used to identify planning issues, identify objectives that will need to be assessed for delivered value, and identify features that will need to be reviewed for acceptance. Once the PI plan is locked in with the commitments from the teams, the program board is used to track the progress and identify planning issues throughout the course of the PI. Objects that have planning issues are indicated by orange or red colors, and objects that have risks associated with them are highlighted in yellow. So you'll see that on the board circled there. Using the small view for the program board, you can see at a glance which teams have potential problems as well as which iterations may have problems. So we can also use the program board to drill in on unassigned stories, dependency issues, objective fulfillment. So to see more details around the planning issues, we open the quick view for a particular item. Here is the feature card for the feature 3166 for the Team Baltimore. In this example, we see there are multiple planning issues related to scheduling issues and conflict dependencies. Some planning issues may be more severe than others. In the quick view, we have detailed information regarding the stories, dependencies, and risks related to the feature. In Jira Align, the primary way to visualize dependencies is through dependency maps. And as you see in the list there are 5 types of maps available. Of all the dependency maps, the wheel view is the fan favorite. Each team has a slice of the wheel. The lines represent where the dependencies lie, and the status of those dependencies are determined by the color of the line. Now, in Jira Align, the work tree is the one view where it is possible to see the full structure of work from portfolio epic through stories for a given program increment parsed out by program. The dashboard at the top of the page provides a summary of the PI according to what is selected in the top configuration bar. If the portfolio is selected, it will display the portfolio epic feature, story, and task progress for all the work items that fall within that portfolio. If the program is selected, it will filter down the amount of work items based on the program selected and adjust the progress accordingly. Now, below the dashboard is the tree structure view of the work items. If there is a portfolio selected again or multiple programs, it will parse out each structure by program. This provides a full top to bottom or bottom to top view of the work being completed for a program and PI. Starting with the sizing of stories at the bottom, it will roll up the story points to the parented feature and portfolio epics. It is also possible to see how many work items reside below each parent item as they are expanded and the progress of all the work items. Now, since this is all in one place in Jira Align, to see the full structure of the work and associated progress and the different views that it offers, the work tree is a favorite page for tracking execution through the PI. Another interactive capability is the color coding of the bars on the roadmap. The various colors reflect the health of the work items. Now, this is maintained manually by the product manager according to the status of the work item. When right-clicking on the item, a menu will appear with a list of available options which the program manager can choose. The program increment view provides a summary of the work attributed to the PI and the progress of that work. Each PI is represented by a card with details related to that PI. The cards link to markers on a month by year linear view of when the PI is scheduled to end. Now, in Jira Align, there are at least 15 out-of-the-box reports that deal with progress or other metrics. On the reports landing page, you can filter by category or search by typing in the name of the report or even a question. Take a look at just a couple of them here. We have the progress by objective and the value delivered reports that we could pull up. There are also at least 10 other out-of-the-box reports that can give you insights and different perspectives on the work being done. So you see plan by earned velocity, the organizational hierarchy, the investment by, and that should say feature there, those kinds of things. So we have at least 25, maybe 26, 27 different out-of-the-box reports that we can pull up to give us information about what's going on. So there is one report we really want to highlight here and to do things in the PI execution, and that's the Program Increment Cleanup Report. Now, this is most frequently used towards the end of a PI, but it can be used throughout a PI execution. As the PI is coming to an end, this is a good resource that captures all items that are not completed and should be wrapped up by the end of the PI. It will categorize the items, listing them by ID, and title, as well as indicating who the owner is, making it easy for the program manager to reach out. The IDs can be selected, making it easy for anyone to use the PI cleanup report as a one-stop shop for cleaning up their own items. Also, when closing out a PI and preparing for the next PI, it might be necessary to split a feature because it was not completed during the PI. So Jira Align has a tool that helps with that. So in summary, session 1, we covered how Jira Align can facilitate PI planning. Coming into PI planning, we take on the order of the top 10 features that were derived from the vision and epic roadmap. The vision answers the questions, why this feature? Why not this feature? It helps organizations choose these things. Agile team members who will have to make thousands of decisions and will need to this context to answer the why questions. The epic roadmap helps to choose which features should be considered during a given program increment. And then via the planning process, we break features down into stories, add them to a program board to cross-check, and the program board is a simple way to spot problems. So after the planning process, we aggregate the output into PI objectives. Session 2 took a step backwards and covered how Jira Align can facilitate PI planning preparation. PI planning preparation is all about preparing the input information as well as the infrastructure for the upcoming PI planning session. So we walk through each part showing how Jira Align can facilitate these PI planning activities, documenting the vision, using the vision to identify the epics and construct the epic roadmap, using the vision and the epic roadmap to create the program and PI backlog of features. And then we showed how Jira Align facilitates the following infrastructure activities: creating a program increment, creating the iterations or sprints, and creating and populating the teams. Today, in session 3, we covered how Jira Align can facilitate PI execution, PI execution. PI planning is all about taking the outputs from PI planning preparation and transforming them into the PI planning outputs, team backlogs and Kanbans, program risks, PI objectives, and a program board. So we showed how Jira Align can facilitate transforming these into the program increment and products producing value to the customer. And then realizing that most of the team level planning and organizational work is done by the Agile teams on the Agile release train and is performed within Jira or another tool, we see that Jira Align facilitates program planning, status and progress reporting, and issue identification and resolution. So we showed how Jira Align facilitates each of these activities. So using the scaled Agile framework, especially the program increment process, preparation, planning, and execution, is integral to being successful scaling Agile to a team of teams. PI planning can be done in the old school way with flip charts, post-its, markers, and red yarn, but especially in this day of remote PI planning sessions, it is invaluable to have a tool to support the whole process, including PI planning preparation and PI execution. Jira Align is that tool. So I want to thank you all, especially those that have been part of each one of these in the webinar series. And let's take a few minutes and see if there are any questions that we can answer.
Okay, thank you, Peter. We do have a few. So the first question, do all of the Agile team members on the ART work in Jira Align?
So that's sort of interesting. I mean, you would think with a tool like Jira Align that we would probably have everybody at the team level, the program level, and so forth working in that. But as it works out, the majority of work at the team level relative to these things happens within Jira. And then the planning and so forth at the higher levels happens within Jira Align. So at the program level, the portfolio level, the enterprise level, and so forth, those things are all covered by Jira Align. Now, we do syncing between Jira and Jira Align so that the information is the same in both places. We're working on the same projects, the same team, same art. People working in Jira are able to view things in Jira Align, but the ones that are really working on things in Jira Align would be like the Scrum Master, the product owner, the product manager, the RTE, the rational, the RTE. Anyways, you know what it means. And so not all the members of the team are going to be working in Jira Align.
Okay. What do you feel is the biggest advantage to using Jira Align in combination with Jira as opposed to using Jira alone?
So Jira was not built really to manage teams of teams. Jira was built to manage individual Scrum teams and help them deal with that. So Jira Align was really built to do that managing of teams of teams, so working at the program level, the portfolio level, and above. So the two of these things together are really using the tools to at their most effective parts. We use Jira at the team level, and we use Jira Align above the team level, and that seems to work the best.
Okay. Next question. My team is distributed from Bangalore to London. How does Jira Align help with this, especially during PI planning sessions?
Okay, so essentially Jira Align, and we saw all the different reports, the program room, the program boards, and so forth. That it's a web-based tool, right? So essentially, you can use it whether you're in London or whether you're in Bangalore, and you can be looking at the same thing at the same time because of the web capabilities there. And then also it works well with all of the team tools like Microsoft Teams and Zoom and GoToMeeting and whatever it is you're using. It works very well with those so that you can present and work on things together.
Okay, well, it looks like that concludes the questions. I don't see any more, so we're going to go ahead and say our goodbyes. And I wanted to thank you, Peter, for your presentation today.
All right.
And
thank you very much.
Oh, sorry about that. Go ahead, Peter.
I was just saying thank you very much.
Okay. So to let everybody know, this webinar was recorded and it can be shared with your colleagues. It will be available on our website at 321gang.com under the Resources tab. And you can check out a multitude of other previously recorded webinars. Same area of our website. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to email us at info@321gang.com, or you can contact Peter directly at peter@321gang.com. And thank you for attending, and we hope to see you at a future webinar. Bye-bye.